Yeah, those points were applied. Wasn't
They're
do
not
that.
supposed to be called on this. Read it.
Mhm. I guess not. Glad I came.
All right, with it being 6 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. That's great.
Sorry, Bert.
Sorry.
We,
Thank you, appreciate it.
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not his gavel.
deep breaths, deep breaths.
So, with that, and yeah, how do you recover from that?
You don't.
Yeah, we'll just start
Just
over.
continue.
So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us this evening. Misty, if you wouldn't mind doing roll call.
We have the invocation in place.
Opening item number 1 is called, yeah. Man, I'm just messing up tonight. Moving to number 2, Pastor Steve Thomas from First Baptist Church for the invocation. All right.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come to you in our times of need and in our times of indecision, and when we're looking forward to moving forward, we come to you for direction, for wisdom, for counsel. Thank you for these men and women who have committed their life and dedicated their life to leading this community. We're very thankful for them and pray that you would just overshadow this meeting with your will, with your grace, your mercy, give guidance and give leadership. And thank you again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. If we all remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. All right, now roll call.
Rogers,
Here.
Collins,
Here.
Eckerly, Steiner,
Here.
McLean,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Master George.
Okay. Moving to number 5, these are citizen comments. Got a couple here, and then I think we have one on the phone. But let's start here with the audience. Linda Vaughn, you want to come up? State your name and address, please.
My name is Linda Vaughn, and I live at 2913 North 43rd Street. And I bring you greetings from the Greater Robinson Chamber of Commerce. And somewhere here I have notes to tell you what our announcements are. I'm following your lead,
Yeah,
Sharon.
you're
Yeah.
having my
Might as
kind of
well.
day.
You know.
Yeah, I think let's just roll with it.
I appreciate you giving us a little extra time last month and letting us fill you in on what our year was like last year. We haven't quite got off the mark as well as we did last year, but hopefully we're going to gin up some new members here pretty soon. Our next board meeting, well, no, why did I start there? Okay, because I have my notes out of order. Like I said, I'm following your lead.
You're doing good.
Our next event is going to be this Thursday, February the 9th. We have a semi-annual membership meeting at the Hampton Inn and Suites South at the Marketplace. It begins at 6 o'clock. It is open to all of you. You're all invited. Dinner will be provided by one of our sponsors, who is Blanix Custom Catering. It will be a Mexican-style dinner. It is free to you. And we will have desserts provided by Lollipop Sweet Treats and drinks provided by Raising Cane's, with maybe a little extra drinks purchased outside of Raising Cane's. Anyway, we would love to have you come and visit with us. It's an open forum. We will be able to talk about the community, the chamber, whatever we want to talk about that night, and update those that are attending on the chamber and the events that have been going on with the chamber. Our next board meeting is going to be Tuesday, February 21st at Marco's Pizza. So they're going to host us for our board meeting, and you're all welcome to come to that as well. Our board meetings are open to the public, and we welcome suggestions and comments from the general public, from our membership, as well as from our board members. Our next quarterly networking luncheon, we don't have it on the calendar yet, but it's probably going to be April the 20th at noon at Tajin. Once again, we'd love to invite all of you to come to those meetings. The last one was really good. We had the new district attorney, Josh Teetons, as our speaker, and it was a really good, well-attended event and a good program. And then, of course, you can always be thinking ahead to our annual membership banquet on July the 20th. We will be looking for sponsorships, for silent auction items, and for people to just purchase tickets and come and have a good time. It's going to be a Texas theme, so it should be a good time that night. So we're open to suggestions, ideas, comments, whatever. You can always email the chamber anything that you have to comment or suggest or whatever. We're open to listen to that, and we take all different things objectively. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Ms. Ron.
Thank you. All right. Next, I have Mr. Olson. Mr. Olson, if you wouldn't mind saying your name and address.
My name is William Olson. I go by Bill. I live at 712 North Beard Avenue.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm here to ask for some help around my house with the water runoff. The creek beside my house is so stopped up, the water don't run through it, but runs across my other property, and it's washing the soil out. I've approached the city of Robinson a number of times, but no one ever responds to it. I'll call 2500 extension, I think that's David. He's never ever called me back. But I do have some problems. When they rebuilt Robinson Street, they did put in a brand new asphalt highway. I appreciate that. They put in a new bridge. I appreciate that. I've been living there since '89. Put up with gravel since that time. But anyway, the street's really nice. But when they rebuilt the ditches, they cut me off from my property. I can't even get in there to cut the grass. So the city of Robinson put in a concrete ramp, a forge across the creek. That same ramp acts as a dam. It blocks the water, so the water comes across my property. The creek is just full of trash because I can't get in there at all, and I'd like to get some help for that. Let me review my notes. I've let utilities know a number of times what my concerns were, but no one from Robinson City has ever approached me because of my problems, and I've asked for help a number of times, and I thank everybody for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I've got your information down, and we'll get back with you, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Before we go to the phone, is there anybody else in the audience wanting to speak on anything that's not an agenda item? Okay. With that being said, Destiny, can we go to, is Mr. Farley on the line? Farrell, sorry.
I have come before the city council this evening to express my concerns with respect to the current storm drainage program that Mr. Olson has just discussed with you. My family and I moved to Robinson in late 2018. Right after getting here, there was a significant rainfall whereby my house was threatened with flooding. I immediately walked those areas of the creek that runs alongside my house in Carnes Avenue, and to my surprise, what I found was the flow of water going underneath Route 77 was being limited. Why, I don't know. This backup is occurring right at the corner of Farrell Gas, whereby there is a small opening allowing a little flow of water underneath the Route 77. This backup is causing flooding throughout the neighborhood surrounding Beard Avenue and Carnes. This affects at least 10 houses, if not more. I wrote to the city at that time and expressed my concerns. I was told a study was necessary to prove to the state the necessity to increase the flow of water underneath Route 77. I have been in contact with the company responsible for the water study, Walker Park, Jacob Bierman, since he began the project 4 years ago. I know that real-time intelligence has been around for at least a decade. And the fact that it's taken 5 years to get the flow of water underneath Route 77 implies to me that there could be something untoward going on here. I understand there is a significant tax base across Route 77, and it's noticeably been using this past 5 years. Developing foundation, massive dump loads of rock, soil, lots of debris on 2 acres that is being affected. Someone certainly expects to develop that land. All these water dissipation projects that are in progress right now remain without recognition that eventually the water flow must go underneath Route 77. After all, it's in the community's best interest to understand where every dollar spent on their behalf is actually on their behalf. All that I have seen with respect to the effects of my neighbors and me is anything but our best interest. A brand new highway grade culvert with a 55-mile-an-hour enforced guardrail put up on a small little community street suggests to me that someday that a massive flow of water is going to go underneath Route 77. In addition to a huge culvert that's been built on Carnes. Now, that culvert's been built with, I don't see any resolution as to where that water is going to go, except my backyard and Bill's backyard and our neighbors' backyards. So, my concern is the planning project is implying that these water dissipation projects, hundreds of thousands of dollars, ongoing currently throughout the Robinson area, are supposed to handle the water flow that will eventually get dumped into the neighborhood. My concerns are that this whole planning project has been attacked backwards and is costing taxpayers of Robinson more than that would have been necessary if the problem of the flow of water underneath Route 77 would have been addressed first. Understanding that the roads, water lines, and sewers probably need immediate attention, the thought of attempting to dissipate water through culverts and tanks seems a bit wasteful.
Mr. Farrell, your 3 minutes are up.
To get to the measurements of the water necessary to be dissipated, the water was running under Route 77. I mean, why wouldn't we attack that project from where the bottleneck started?
Sure.
That's all I'm.
Okay. Mr. Farrell.
Allowing me time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Appreciate that, and we'll get back with you, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak? Is that it? Okay. Okay. Moving to item number 6. This is the presentation section. So number 6 is the 2022 Annual Racial Profiling Report. Chief?
Hey everybody, Councilman, Mr. Lemon. I'm here to present the 2022 Racial Profiling Report to you. It shows a lot of things. The main thing it shows is that we are certainly in compliance about the intent of the law, spirit of the law, and the letter of the law. This department works very hard at doing things right, and they're very good at it. So I just tell you that up front. But it shows that last year we made 1,916 traffic stops. Out of those 1,916, the percentages are in this report. You can look through them, and it gives a breakdown by race, ethnicity, gender, about anything you'd want to know. It also shows that we made 86 searches out of those stops, and out of those, 70 of them resulted in seizure of contraband. So we've done. I think we've done a good job. The report shows that. If you have any questions about it along the way, please ask me. But when we start looking at it based on race, based on gender, ethnicity, and everything else, we are well in compliance. At the last of this packet, the last 4 pages, 3 of them deal with the policy of the Robinson Police Department as far as race-based profiling, and I'll tell you that we are in compliance with that policy as well as the statute. With that said, I guess you've had enough time to have read it. If you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them.
Appreciate it. Council, do y'all have any questions for Chief?
And I just tell you that it's a pleasure to be able to lead a fine organization like this.
It's good to have you
Really
back.
good folks, they do excellent work, and I hope y'all appreciate it as much as I do.
We
Yes, sir.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving to item number 7, our quarterly investment report. Craig?
So this is the quarterly investment report for the period of September 30th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022, which would be the first quarter of this fiscal year. The beginning book value and market value on September 30th was $30,751,730. The ending book value is $32,283,176. Total quarterly interest earnings was $111,250, and since it was the first quarter, that was also the year-to-date interest earnings. The average quarterly yield is 2.2%. The rolling 3-month treasury is 4.19. The rolling 6-month is 3.9, and principal is 3.98. And I think a lot of our CDs that are at lower rates are maturing, and we are rolling those over at higher rates. So we anticipate as the year goes on, that average quarterly yield will increase and be more in line with the treasury and the taxable rates. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Council, does anyone have any questions, comments regarding the quarterly investment report?
No.
Okay. Appreciate that, Craig. Okay, moving to the consent agenda items, item number 8 and 9. Has council had time to review the 2 agenda items? And if so, does anyone need to pull either one of those out to discuss, or a motion to approve as is?
Motion to approve consent agenda items.
I second the motion.
So we got a motion to approve consent agenda items 8 and 9 as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, fully passes. Okay, moving to regular agenda items. Item number 10, this is to consider and possible action accepting the City of Robinson. This is the Texas Annual Financial Report presented by Belt Harris Pachachik, LLP for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. How are you?
Good evening. I'm Darla Deer with Belt Harris Pachachik, and here to present your annual financial report. I'll go over about the 3 most important pages out of the audit, but then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have on audit. And I'd also like to start off by saying thanks for the staff for all the information that they give us. We couldn't pull this together without those all that information, and we give them a lot of requests, and they do a great job at complying. We're going to start off with and I believe y'all are all on the iPad, so I think I've got the PDF pages. If y'all turn to PDF page 5, which should be the written report page 1.
I don't think that's in, I think that was
Yeah, it's a
emailed
separate.
It's a separate email.
separately.
What did you say?
It's PDF page 5. This is our opinion page. This is the page that we consider the most important out of the audit. You received an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that you can receive, that there are no material misstatements and all disclosures have been made according to generally accepted accounting principles. So great job on that. So we are going to flip over to page, this is going to be your PDF page 28 and 29. Which is going to be the written pages or the printed pages of 24 and 25. We'll look at that general fund balance. Your revenues for the year, total revenues, $7,244,036. Total expenditures, $7,800,288. You had some transfers in and proceeds from financing agreements. With those added in there, that left you a net change in your fund balance of a positive $451,622, leaving you an ending fund balance of $5,604,734. So great job on a positive increase on that fund balance. Next page, I'll flip you to, we're going to go a couple past that, just showing you your in your proprietary fund, your enterprise fund. If you'll flip on to, it's going to be your printed page 31. So about 3 pages left. That ought to be about
35.
Yeah. Go one more right there. Yep. Okay, I was going to show you you also had a positive change in your net position in your utility fund. That net change was a positive $2,198,645, leaving you an ending net position of $28,115,448. So good, nice change on that fund as well. If you'll flip with me now, this is going to be your PDF page 69, and it should be the printed report page of 65. This is where we actually look at your variance from the budget, the actual expenditures to the budgeted expenditures. You had one little area in the police department that we had a little overage on the budget, but even considering that, if you come down to the total expenditures a little bit, you'll see that you were still in excess of $404,167. So you came in under budget by $400,000. Even though we had that one little area in the police department that needed a little budget adjustment. Now that's basically what we consider the most important pages out of the audit, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. We did have one implementation this year. We had to implement GASB 87. It had to do with putting leases onto your books. I guess most clients, that really comes out to the copier leases. So just another thing to add on to the work.
Okay. Council, do you all have any questions?
You're the number guy. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. On the leases, do we have police equipment or police cars, vehicles leased?
Yes.
Does that fall on that too?
We already have those. They're under capital leases.
Okay.
So this is basically encompassing anything that was not a capital lease.
Non-capital item?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Okay,
it.
appreciate it.
Thank you. And of course, anybody has any questions, always feel free to contact us. We're always happy to help you.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We don't need an action on that, right? It's just presentation.
I think we usually, where Karen goes,
She said that.
she's bailed out. I think usually you take action to accept the audit.
Okay. Anything specific we need to say, or
There's
just
a
accept?
motion to accept
Okay.
the audit as presented, and then a second and a vote.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit as printed.
A second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the audit as written and provided. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. It is. Okay, moving to agenda item number 11. This is consider possible action approving the application of Hayden Heisen with Bowman, I cannot talk, Bowman Consulting Limited on behalf of Vectorling Builders for final plat approval of the Magnolia Court Edition, being 9.6 acres in the Seal Campo Survey, Abstract 32, address at 644 North Stovall Drive. Okay.
Good evening, Council. As you said, this item's for the approval of the final plat, the Magnolia Court Edition. This edition is platted to be 13 residential lots. It is currently undeveloped and has a zoning district of SF2. This plat does comply to that zoning district. This plat is also not in a floodplain, and it will have a character of a typical neighborhood, paved streets, curb and gutter, drainage, franchise utilities, that sort of thing. Last month, on January 19th, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved this final plat with the following two conditions. The first condition be that at the time that the engineering review comments be adequately addressed. There are still some outstanding comments that need to be addressed. And then the other condition be that an additional 25 feet of drainage easement be dedicated. In your packet, there's some exhibits there. It's ditch A specifically. The drainage easement runs north and south, right parallel to Frederick Drive, and it crosses Crow Creek just south of the subdivision, or of the addition. Since then, those comments have been addressed. There were 3 additional comments that came out of that have been addressed, and we received those today. The review engineer will still need to confirm those, but they have been addressed. We received those today. And then secondly, work on the survey for the dedication of the easement that has begun and is currently in progress. So today, city staff recommends council approve the final plat and construction plans conditioned on the following: the final review comments be adequately addressed, and that council approve the survey and dedication of additional 25 feet of drainage easement. With that, I'll answer any questions. The design engineer is present today as well.
Okay. With that being presented, Mr. Rogers, do you have any questions, comments?
No questions. I brought it up last time. It's related and somewhat unrelated. I think we should probably name the rest of this street Crow Creek Drive versus having turn right, it's Ranch Creek, turn left, it's Crow Creek. That nothing related to this agenda item. And there are no addresses on Ranch Creek, so it wouldn't cause as much of a problem. But just a thought.
Mr. Hall?
No questions.
Ms. McQueen?
Didn't we talk about the road conditions on Stovall Drive? Like, were we doing anything with that? Isn't that the road that's really bad?
It's rough.
It's a gravel road. I mean, we can't, because of terms called rough proportionality, we can't make the developer build the entire road. Technically, all we can make them do is improve the half of the road on the properties that they front. It doesn't do any good to go into Stovall and build half a road for
Yeah.
a section in the middle of the roadway. So the street department has been over there working. We do every year trying to, get new base, get it compacted and things, but there's not adequate right of way to widen the road or anything over there. That's gonna be a major future project to do
Mhm.
that. So. I would anticipate probably most people will access this from Crow
Crow
Creek.
Drive, yeah.
And it is, I think, 13 additional lots.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, and this is kind of just a weird question, the property that's going to be to the southeast, is that ours? That's the city-owned property.
Yeah, and that's the next
And it's-
agenda item to talk about the easement
Yeah.
for the drainage, so.
Very good.
But yeah, can you go to the one that shows the colored, the blue color pic right there?
Mm-hmm.
So the big parcel,
And that's
The
our,
rectangle next to it?
yeah, the big brown parcel down below there to the,
Oh, mm-hmm.
that is the land we purchased.
and that's
yes,
a potential
about 2
reservoir
years
site.
ago for a potential reservoir site, yes.
Okay. So there's really Stovall will never get extended,
No.
and there's really,
No, there was actually right of way for Stovall across Flat Creek, but
Used
the
to
city
be there, right?
abandoned that
Yeah.
several decades ago. So there's actually houses now built where that original right of way is. So trying to extend that down would require
it's,
reacquiring additional right of way and trying to bridge the creek down there. It's pretty wide floodplain. You'd have to bridge the floodplain, so it would be a considerable cost to connect that road through.
Mr. Baker?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, if the drainage issue's been addressed.
Well,
Go with
we
me.
still have to talk about the drainage, so.
Drainage is next.
Yeah,
Drainage.
they're going to drain from that location to Flat Creek along the eastern boundary, and that's the next agenda item we'll get to, but we can talk about it here since it is a condition of the plat. There's a 15-foot drainage easement along the back of that subdivision that carries the water that currently drains off of Crow Creek and drains from the middle of those lots to the back. In order to accommodate all that additional drainage, that ditch has to be widened to 40 feet. And so the developer's requesting the city grant the 25 foot on the other side. Like I said, that's the next agenda item, but this will be subject to that because there's, number one, that far down Flat Creek, we really don't want detention. We want the water to get in Flat Creek and get out before the waters that are flowing from Hewitt and Woodway and Waco get here. So, they're the ones that will have to actually construct the ditch and all that. We'll be giving them permission to do it. But that is one of the conditions of the plat is they have to get that easement approved in order to move forward with the project.
That easement dedication's in progress for this item.
Yes, and again, it's the next item. I'll kind of discuss it
Okay.
with you. And we actually did get a exhibit sent over about an hour before the meeting. I'll pass out here when we get to that. So.
Okay.
Okay, so.
So with no further questions, does council want to proceed with the motion?
What does this need to be worded specific? Since the next agenda item pertains to it.
Yeah, how does that work, Craig? Do we Make a motion based upon,
Conditional approval with the requirement that the final engineering comments be addressed satisfactorily approved, and that the easement be acquired from the city.
Jimmy, did you get that?
Got it. Motion to approve application of Hayden Heinzen with Bowman Consulting Ltd. on behalf of Eklund Builders for a final plat approval of the Magnolia Court address. Sorry, addition being 9.642 acres on the CO Campo survey, abstract 32 with the appropriate address of approximate, I don't have my glasses on, guys, approximate address of 644 North Stovall Drive with
The condition.
the condition that the engineer's reports be addressed satisfactorily
And the easement.
and the easement acquired from the city.
Perfect.
is that a second?
I think, Holland second.
Oh, Holland, you second?
Large drop plat.
Okay. So Missy, I got Mr. Rogers approved with Mr. Holland second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion passes. So we'll move on to item number 12, continuation. This is consider possible action approving a drainage easement on city-owned property identified as Ocampo C 117.631 acres, and authorize the city manager to sign the easement document. Mr. Lemon?
So, as we discussed previously, they are in the process of finishing up the surveying, the meets and bounds. This is an exhibit they sent over yesterday. Yeah, that's in your packet, kind of shows you where it is. Can you go back to the one we were looking at with the map with the
Yeah, I like the
property on
map.
it? I should have put one in there and I didn't think about it. Yeah, that one right there. So the easement would be directly along the side of Liberty Ranch, which is all the little yellow boxes there next to the big open piece of land. As we stated earlier, we did purchase that 117 acres for future reservoir construction. That will probably be a couple of phases down, but we're at the point now where we need to be acquiring that land as we can, so the council decided to go and purchase that. I don't anticipate, first of all, we would not recommend building a reservoir within 25 feet of homes. That probably wouldn't be, because it is gonna have to go up on the sides, and we wouldn't wanna be that close to any homes. I anticipate any reservoir construction would probably be, there used to be a gravel road where that light colored line is. I would anticipate any reservoir construction would be east of that line, just so we would need access to the reservoir. So we would use Stovall as our point of access. So the granting of this easement will not restrict or inhibit or cause any issues with the development of this property. Like I said, this far down Flat Creek, the engineers have recommended instead of detaining water, we get it in the creek and get it out as quick as we can, as opposed to holding it back and waiting for all of the upstream flows to get to us from the other cities. So this particular design has met the engineer's approval, and all of the calculations and everything have been determined to work as long as that ditch is widened to 40 feet. That also makes the slopes gentle enough that it's easy to maintain.
I haven't been back there. Is behind those houses, those block of houses, it's just flat right now, or is it?
Oh, no, there's an existing ditch back there right now. It's 15 foot wide. It's got little rock dams. It's just a gentle, but again, it only really takes the flow from Crow Creek in the back of the lots, so it's adequate. So that ditch is already there, and that's already an easement on all those residential lots. This would just be putting the other 25 foot of the ditch over on the other part.
It's a fairly popular spot for dirt bikes.
Oh,
Oh,
noted,
is it?
noted.
I guess we put up a gate and charge a fee.
Hey, yeah, I'm trying to like figure out where the water flow is.
Maybe a revenue opportunity.
Is he talking about buying here?
Actually, the guy that has the farming lease on it might be a little upset if they're right.
Gravel road he was talking about, right?
Used to be a gravel
Yeah.
road.
I haven't heard of it in a
This
long
is the
time.
area that's gonna be Flat Creek somehow. So it's
On what road? No, I wouldn't go up the corner. I will mention, we do have this property under lease for farming right now.
Have they been notified?
They don't, I don't think they get that close to the edge of the property, do they, Destiny? They kind of keep about a 20 to 25 foot buffer off of the edge of the property. He's right up to the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you grant the lease, we'll notify them that they won't, but the lease is approximately on acres, so.
And we won't run into any legality issues with lease now.
No, we have a lease worded such that we can utilize this property at any time for our own benefits or whatever, so. It's a approximately X acres lease.
Gotcha. Okay.
So this is going from 15 foot to 40 foot,
Yes.
and engineers feel it's good to capture all the water that's gonna come off of this new site?
Yeah, that's
flow.
why it's 40 feet, because it is going to it is going to carry all that water. It's not gonna capture any additional water, it's gonna carry the additional water coming off the new subdivision.
And drops it into Flat Creek.
And Flat Creek.
Can I ask Officer Gallo a question? He's a resident, right, this goes right behind his house. How is the flooding on just through Flat Creek behind your house? How does that look on the worst flood you've seen?
Well, today.
Well, yeah, I just got an alert
about
that
an
we're
hour
under
ago.
flood.
From this point on south is or east is fine. It's up above where I'm seeing a huge issue that it's coming out and then going back.
So the other side of 77. The other side of 77?
No.
It'd be the west side of my house.
So
Like,
like
yeah,
up
point it
towards
out.
Violet.
I'm like, I cannot visualize what we're talking about.
I don't think it goes all the way down to there, but
So my property's gonna be here, and the drainage that's right here is, it's not bad, it's over here that it swings out and then cuts back in. That's
there's a
where it's,
curve
I've
there.
seen it up pretty, come up pretty high, but this hadn't been,
My,
it
my,
flows
wor-
pretty fast.
my worry is us dropping that additional flow downstream of it, and then it potentially.
Coming up to
Well, I think
backyards.
if you go from 15 to 40 feet,
You think
and you said it's gonna move east,
yes.
Mhm.
then, I mean, that should be, I think it should be enough.
okay.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen any issues here, have you? I mean, it flows pretty good, it's up here that it's, I don't know if it's because it needs clearing out, but when it rains pretty good, it's coming up pretty high. And it cuts back into the creek. Does that answer your question?
That did, thank you.
Yeah.
And Flat Creek was studied in 2015 through 2017, and so the capacities of the creek and all that are known. So all that goes into the calculations when we do river design. And we actually, for Windmill Preserve, we required that they had that developer, now I can't talk. The developer
It's
had to
contagious.
do a study to determine would it be better to detain or better to get the flows in and get them out. And that study determined that it was better to get the flows in and out before the upstream flows. Because, you know, as the rain starts, everything starts flowing into all those tributaries and everything that go way up into Woodway and up into Hewitt and up into Waco. And eventually that water gets to us. And so we want as much of our water out of there before it gets there. And so that's why we've opted this far down the creek to discourage detention, because we want to get it in there before all that gets down.
All right, if, as this property windmill gets developed, as well as the other property that's just upstream of it, if we start to see backups and flows, and I'm hoping the engineers got the numbers right, but is there some recourse for the city to come in and address that creek?
We have no easements or ownership of any, well, we own one side of the creek where this property is at, but we don't have any easements or anything in the actual creek itself, so legally we have no authority to go in there and do work on the creek.
I just think of the we're growing right along the side of Flat Creek, and I know northeast of this site we have properties coming that are flooding off the back of Yancey and those roads
Yeah,
there.
those aren't related to the creek condition, those are related to the original design of those drainage systems.
All that's headed south into
Yeah.
the creek. I'm just thinking, you know, if, as these homes develop and this flow changes, I'm praying that our engineers have got the numbers right, but
They spent a lot of money studying it.
I just think that I'd like to as these things develop, maybe we revisit this conversation and say, hey, there's something has to be done. Because I don't want to say in the spirit of growth, we say, hey, you guys get to suffer for it. These folks brought up an idea, or not an idea, but a topic, same thing with our caller. I just want to avoid that. So maybe in the future we revisit.
You mentioned the water coming off Jancy and Celeste, which goes right in front of my house on Christie. The 18 acres east of my house, which is owned by Doey Baker, then it goes on east and south, and I'm not sure if it even, does it tie into Flat Creek?
Yes,
It gets there eventually, yeah.
It flows eventually further upstream.
2 years ago, we had, Mr. Baker was wanting to build some 18 houses or something in there, and one of the residents over on, I can't remember the name of the street, but he said his deck sits 6 feet off the ground, but when it comes a good rain, the rain is just lapping over his deck. So all that water from Jancy, Celeste, Christie Street, Mr. Bush's spillway on his big pond, just going into that 18 acres. So with that plus this additional 40 feet, is it going to be able to handle it? Like Mr. Rogers said, if the
Yeah, I mean,
engineers got
that's
it
the
right.
studies that the engineers did. And again, all that water is already running in Flat Creek and has been for years. Even with that property not developed, there's a lot of runoff over there. And that's part of why that property hasn't developed, because there are some major drainage hurdles over there to just handle the existing water. Creating additional runoff almost makes it prohibitive to develop that property, because there's just so much water running off over there. But all that is figured into all of this. You know, and they calculate what is the amount of flow, and again, I'm not an engineer, they spend a lot of, this is usually the most difficult part of and we have the engineer back here, this is the most difficult part of developing is drainage. It's probably, from a design standpoint, the most expensive. I mean, they can give you upwards of $25,000-$30,000 for the drainage portion of the subdivision design. So they spent a lot of time looking at numbers, and like I said, all of Flat Creek was studied as part of a Texas Water Development Board grant. But, yeah, I mean, there are some improvements can be made to the creek. Like I said, the challenge is we don't have any right of way to make those improvements. And even if we did, we're talking about a huge amount of money to go in there and clean that creek out and dredge it out and do those things. But based on the current conditions, it should be adequate to handle the additional water from this. I mean, some of that water is already running off that property. This will just be from the additional runoff from the 14 homes, or 12 homes. I think it's 12 lots. 13.
Close,
Yeah,
right
13.
around it. 12, 14.
Which changed a couple of times.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was originally one number, and then it was another number. So, and these are pretty good lots, so they do have a lot of non-impervious area. So you don't have as much density here, creating as much runoff as you would in a more single-family development, sort of like Liberty Ranch. There, you can see how many lots are in there, and the density. It's not that dense, so you're not going to have that level of runoff.
Could I ask you a question? If you're gonna clean that creek, how come you can't clean the creek by our house?
Well, I'll discuss that with you all.
Oh, okay, thank you. But when?
You want to wait around? If you want to wait around a few minutes after the meeting, I'd be
Yes,
happy
I
to.
would love that.
Okay. Any other questions related to agenda item number 12? Anyone want to make a motion to approve or disapprove?
I'll make a motion on approving a drainage easement on the city-owned property identified as Ocampo C 117.63 acres, and authorize the city manager to sign the easement document.
Okay. I'll second. Okay, so we've got a motion to approve the easement. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Moving to agenda item number 13, this is for mayor and council member updates and requests for items to be placed on future agendas. Mr. Rogers?
I have no updates from Hot Cog as I was absent from our last meeting.
Okay. Mr. Hull?
Nothing.
Ms. McLean?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Baker? I have nothing. Okay. With that being said, we will move to item number 14, and we'll adjourn. Thanks everyone for coming out. Appreciate it. I'm not touching it down. This is
I'm gonna try to find that.
Oh, no, you have to say?